Hello and welcome, beautiful entrepreneurs. I am so excited for today's episode with the amazing Hayley Collins, a leadership and business coach. We talk about surrounding yourself with awesome people, whether they're coaches or colleagues, and what a community and relationships can do to help you grow, both in your business and your life. And we're also going into energy, where to spend it, leadership skills, and getting out of the terrible kind of disease, Comparison-itis. You can check out all of the show notes at www.businessstraightuppodcast.com. Yep, all one word. And this time I'm going to include my notes from this episode, which I have been asked for several times. What can I say? I love colored pens. This episode is full of awesomeness, so let's jump right in. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome, creative entrepreneurs. I am so excited for today's guest. She is smart and passionate and ambitious, and she's just rocking it. I'm so excited to welcome Miss Hayley Collins. Hi, Hayley.
Hi, Brooke.
Welcome. I would love to, I was going to tell everyone what you do, but since you're with me, how about you do that?
Yeah, no problem. So I am a former CEO turned coach and consultant. So I work as basically a business strategist and a business coach to help primarily millennials who are climbing the ladder, who are working on their leadership skills, and people who've already arrived in the C-suite, who are already that CEO, develop those skills that you just don't really learn along the way. No one teaches you because everyone just assumes you have them. And as being a former CEO, I know what those skills are, both hard skills and soft skills. So I work with my clients anywhere from, talking about strategic planning or board development or how to get more investors or how to do fundraising. So those very hard skills to the very soft skills, how to have a good mindset. How do you actually have a leadership mindset? What is that? What's your leadership style? Why does that matter? And how do you actually enjoy leading? Because all you're doing is, it feels like some days, making constant decisions. You have decision fatigue, and you never get to access that creative spirit. That's what got you into the business in the first place.
Yes.
So I work with those folks to help in all of those different aspects, because I know that as leaders, you don't have time for a coach and a consultant and a therapist and a best friend and a strategist all these different people. You need one person who you can cry on their shoulders of about, whether it's your relationships or your personal life, and simultaneously talk about how your investors or your board doesn't get it and how you need to help them get it and get on board, or how you don't understand your financial statements and you don't understand how to read them and how to describe them to people. So we can go through the whole gamut of what it means to run a business. And that's what I love. And that's what I'm passionate about.
That's so hard for a creative that goes into business because they love what they do, to embrace all of these different hats that you have to wear as a business owner.
Yes.
And so to have someone that understands that you can actually talk to, because I feel like, especially if you have a more online centered business, when you go to like family dinners and you tell people what they do, they just kind of give you these blank stares.
Yes, exactly.
So having a coach that understands it and gets it is so important. I think that that's so valuable. So tell me, when you were a CEO, and what industry were you in?
I was a CEO of a nonprofit, and I had about 20 or so staff members, and I had about 20 board members. So it was a smaller business from the stereotypical business size, but at 29, becoming a CEO, and almost every single staff member and every board member was older than me. And
that's hard.
And the majority of them were men. And so, and I went into a space where I was interacting with high players in the community. So I was interacting with the DA, the DA's office, the governor, the governor's office, state legislators, police departments, all of that, where it's primarily male driven and age is seen as a badge of honor. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely tricky.
What did you learn from that experience that you've put into place in your newer role of entrepreneur?
Yeah, entrepreneurial CEO. So at that, I was passionate about the work I was doing. We were working with children, victims of violence, and we were doing all sorts of different things with them. But I'm passionate about that work. I always have been passionate about that work. However, what I really learned from the overall experience of leadership is that no one tells you that every single leader, no matter if they're running a Fortune 500 company, or if they are running a small business, or if they are a solopreneur, really everyone's just making shit up every single day. And so when you confront your confidence and imposter syndrome about, I should know this, I should be better at that, how do I do this? You feel like you're Googling everything under the sun. You're really in good company of all of the great leaders. No one knows how to lead until you lead.
That's true. You just got to jump in.
That's right. And that I wish someone would have told me, because the amount of time I spent kind of frightened or nervous, I guess, anxious about someone somehow finding out that I don't really know all of these things that I'm supposed to know, I would have been able to use that energy in my personal life, for my personal health, and for the business.
That is so true. I want to scoot back for just a sec, because you mentioned imposter syndrome. Are you familiar with Ash Amberge?
That sounds really familiar.
She is a business coach with a company called the Middle Finger Project.
Oh, yes.
And she works primarily with copywriters and designers, but she wrote something about imposter syndrome recently that said, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And that totally struck me, because it means you're moving, right? You're moving forward.
That's right. I love that. And that's such a great way of saying it, because we all experience it no matter where you're at in your career or in your life, but particularly your career. We're trained to think that. And it's sad, but we are trained by the stereotypical educational system in the United States in particular, that once we achieve X and we get this certificate, then we've made it and we know things.
Yes.
Right? We are ready to go out into the world and distribute our knowledge. And when in fact, you've really just started, you're really just a baby after you leave college. You're really just starting out into what real life is all about and how to really build a career without kind of those fake notions and the fake certificates. Not to say that they're fake. I mean, I have a master's, so clearly I've bought into the mindset on some level, but it is something that we do have to reprogram in ourselves, that we don't need a certificate. We don't need to prove ourselves in that way to be competent, to be valuable, to be worthy.
That's interesting. I never thought about that, in thinking that this notion of a degree or a diploma or some sort of piece of paper that says that you're not good enough can affect us in other ways.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. Absolutely. It's like a permission slip.
Exactly. And how many little courses that you can do give you a certificate that really means nothing, but you're not going to put it on your wall, but they give it to you because it's that, okay, you've completed this. Good job. You've got the gold star for the day. And really, what does it mean?
Well, and tomorrow there will be something else.
There's always something else. It's bigger, better, new, different.
And there's
so hard, never enough. You can never do it enough. That's how it feels, right? Yep. And so we are the owners of our own destiny. We run our own ship. And so we have to really reprogram ourselves and say, that's not where I'm putting my worth and my value.
That's so true. I feel like we all have this finish line in our brains. Like, once I get here, then life will be good.
Yeah.
And I know from my experience that I've hit several of my own finish lines, and then you just kind of go, okay, what's next?
Yes, exactly.
Have you ever read the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert?
Yes, of course.
Love that book. And she has a podcast that goes with it. And one of her podcast episodes, she said to someone, this person wanted to start a podcast and kind of branch out of her normal work. And she was feeling guilty about that. And Elizabeth Gilbert told her, mastery is boring.
Right, exactly.
And that just stands out to me so much.
I love that you said that, because it goes back to what you were mentioning about imposter syndrome. If you don't feel it, that means you're not growing.
Yes.
And that's same with mastery. In mastery, you're no longer growing because you've quote unquote mastered it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's no fun. It's just like perfectionism. It's an illusion.
Yes.
So don't chase it.
That's crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
So true. So one thing that you kind of mentioned in our conversation beforehand was stepping out of comparison-itis.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like a terrible disease?
It does. It really does. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about that for a moment. What does it really do to us when we are constantly comparing ourselves to others?
So it puts us squarely in that place of that lack of confidence, right? It puts us back into that mindset we take on with imposter syndrome, feeling like we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, we don't have enough certificates, we don't have the right certificates, we don't have the right degrees, we don't know the right people. All it does is effectively creates a downward spiral. And now let me just be clear. Am I guilty of it? Oh, hell yeah.
We all are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think it's such a unique thing, because the other piece of comparison-itis is that, from a humanity standpoint and almost like a neuroscience standpoint and a biological standpoint, as humans, we are supposed to be in community. And in community, we are always checking to assess where we fit in that community. What's our niche, right? That can go back, traced way back, thousands and thousands of years. That's what we do. That's how we survive as a species. And that is still very much ingrained in us. And that's not all bad. However, you have to recognize it for what it is and then determine when it's useful and when it's not. Because when you're learning a new tool, trick, etc., you may be comparing yourself or your business or your new exciting online course or whatever. And there may be some of it that's in the name of learning, but you need to be very clear with yourself as to when it stops being in the name of learning and it starts being in the name of you judging yourself and having negative self-talk. And that's when that comparison-itis, or the disease, if you will, kind of starts setting in. And that's where it becomes really dangerous. You have to pull yourself out of it.
How can you tell when it goes to the dark side, so to speak?
Yeah, great question. So what I found to be really effective with this is when you start, it's like positive self-talk versus negative self-talk. So when you start saying to yourself, gosh, like, this is really great. I'm going to take this concept and I'm going to apply it to how I build my website. I'm going to apply this to my business. Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, great. That's all learning. That's all positive. We need that. However, once you start saying, oh man, why are they're doing this and it's so much better than me. Why didn't I think of that? This is so frustrating. And it starts spiraling down, and those thoughts keep happening. Why did gosh, I can't believe their post on social media was so great. Why didn't I think of that? Why can't I do something like that? I should be able to do something like that. Maybe I'll try to do that and see if it even works for me, because it probably won't. And so when you start sliding down that negative tunnel, that's when you know you've caught the comparison-itis disease.
Yes, absolutely. It's so toxic.
It is. And you have to look at your day and yourself as, and this is when my inner geek really comes out, that we all have, I love to use this analogy as test tubes, right? So we all have one test tube full of energy. Every single day we wake up and we have a certain amount of energy. And now if we didn't sleep well, some of that energy has evaporated, is no longer in the test tube. If we didn't eat well, that energy is not even available to use for us in the test tube. It's evaporated before we've even woken up. All of these things can immediately suck some of that energy, but it's a finite amount of energy per day. You can't add to it. It only can be taken away from. And so what you do is every single decision you make, whether it's big or small, how you spend your time, the thoughts you have, all take some of that energy. And so you get to determine which test tubes you're pouring some of that other energy into. Do you have 500 different test tubes? And so each test tube only gets a little drop. And are those the test tubes that you want your energy to be going towards?
Yes.
Or are you just picking a couple test tubes and you're saying, look, this is really important for me to do today. My health and well-being are really important for me today or every day. And so this is how much energy I'm going to dedicate towards it, which of course the inverse of that means the opposite decision is I'm not therefore going to have that energy to use elsewhere.
That is so important. And I feel like so many of us are just trying to spin our wheels and put all of this energy into a million different things. And then we wonder why none of those things work very well.
Yes. And again, I'm guilty of this. I have to have check-ins with myself and like honest conversations with myself all the time. Like, Hayley, really? You really think you're working hard? Let's talk about how long you spent on social media or Facebook, checking out cute puppy videos, like, right? Right. Whatever it is. But that's when you start putting on your CEO hat. And that's the distinction, is you become the CEO of your life and your business, because you are really determining your destiny. You are saying, I know I have finite amount of energy in my little test tube, my one test tube of energy I get every day. And I am determined, because these are my priorities, that I'm going to put, some over here in this test tube, some over here in this test tube, some over here in that test tube. And now that's it. I've allocated it all out.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. And then you have to let it go.
And sometimes you do have to let things go. Like if you have a big project that you have to work on today, then maybe that means you don't get something else done, and you have to be okay with that.
Yes. And that is consistently what you're going to have to be okay with in life. And this is the conversation I have with so many of my clients, is they're always seeking this elusive work-life balance.
Nope.
Exactly. And I think, society perpetuates this idea, this myth that there's some work-life balance. That doesn't really exist. One, for multiple reasons. One, we're one person. So wherever we go, there we are, right? Whether we're working on our business, whether we're working in a business, whether we're working on our personal lives, we are the common denominator to all of it. And so you can't balance different parts of you like that. What you have to do, again, is to say, what are my priorities?
Yes.
And they're going to change. They're going to change
like hourly.
Right? Yeah. And so what you have to really do is say, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with setting goals, setting priorities within those goals, and then letting go of the rest. And if you can't do that, you're never going to really be a CEO. You're never going to be a CEO of your life. You're never going to be a CEO of your business, because you're going to get so bogged down in all of the zillions of things that could take up any business owner's time, and instead not focus on the really high impact stuff, both in your personal life, as people like to call it, or your professional life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not being able to focus anywhere, you're going to just be, like you were saying earlier, kind of everywhere and not actually get anything accomplished, creating another spiral in your head of, oh, I'm not good enough. I should have known that I shouldn't have started this business. Everyone is right that I wasn't going to be able to make it successful. I'm not competent. All of these negative self-talk things that have been going on in your head as an entrepreneur or leader are going to come all right back up to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
When in fact, absolutely. And in fact, it had nothing to do with your competency. It just had to do with how you allocate your time and your priorities.
Yes, absolutely. One of my coaches years ago, and we're just going to swear, so we'll just throw it all out there, I guess. She told me every day you have a certain number of fucks to give.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can only give so many. So you have
That's
to
right.
decide where those go.
I like that. That's a little less geeky than the test tubes.
Well, F-bombs here, F-bombs there. It's okay.
Yes, it's so important. And that there is no perfection, right? There is no work-life balance perfection that
No.
again, we go back to this sense of achievement. You can't just achieve it. And once that happens, everything will magically fall into place. Your business will be successful. You'll have a fantastic marriage. Your life will be great. You'll be making tons of money. That never happens.
Nope.
It's a series of small decisions you have to make every single day.
Absolutely. I agree completely. So I kind of just mentioned my coach, but let's talk about business coaching.
Yeah.
Why would we talked about it a little bit earlier, someone to cry with, but why would someone want a business coach? What would that do for them? Why does it matter?
Yeah. Well, there are so many answers to this, but I think right now, what's happening in our society is that there is such a lack of community. And, what we're connecting via social media, those aren't real connections. Not to say that we're not real people in social media, but you get a very different level of connection. You get a very different input for yourself and vice versa, a level of relationship when you're connecting via social media. So we are in this society where we think that because we have 5,000 friends on Facebook, we have a community. And yeah, we may have some friends in our local area where we go and connect with, but we forget that we have to continue to build more and more relationships that fit with us and who we are becoming as we evolve so that we're supported in the person we are becoming professionally and personally.
Isn't it amazing how connected we all think we are?
Yes.
But then reality, I always call them your hide the bodies friends. Like, who are you going to be able to call at 2 a.m. to hide the body?
Yes.
Most of us don't have, I have two very, very close friends, but we're not as connected as we think we are. Social media, I think, has done us almost a disservice in this example than has helped us.
And I think, to kind of flip it into more of a strength-based approach, I think social media has done us really amazing things, right? Yes. You and I probably wouldn't be connected without social media, but at the same time, it's our choice as to how we use it. So that's an important piece to consider in this landscape, because what's happening is that people are forgetting that they have to build their team. Mm-hmm. So you have to build your team of supporters, and it's an ongoing process. It's iterative. It never ends. And part of that team should be a coach. And the coach, what they can do, and I mean that both personally and professionally. So when you look at a business coach or a leadership coach, their goal is to be my goal is to be your coach, your consultant, your therapist, your cheerleader, your best friend, all of those things, and confined in this safe space where you get to really show up in all of your glory and be you. You don't have to just be the business you. You don't have to just be the personal you, the friend, the mother, the wife, the spouse, the daughter, whatever. You just get to show up in all of your glory, ask all of your questions, get the support you need, whether it is super technical and tactical, like I said at the beginning, how to build an effective fundraising campaign, or how to, actually read your financial documents, because magically no one really teaches you this, even though you become a CEO or a director.
Right.
And what happens instead is so many people feel isolated. And again, they get the creeping imposter syndrome in there. And so they feel like they can't talk to anyone. So not only are they going to feel incompetent by talking to someone, but then the few people that would potentially they would be close enough to be that vulnerable with, 99% of the time, they're not going to have an experience as a CEO. They're not going to have experience with growing a business. So when you get into that, not only technical and tactical questions, they cannot answer at all, but then they don't understand the pressure behind it all, the mindset behind it all, the decision fatigue, the constantly questioning yourself. They don't understand. And that's why I created my business specifically. I saw too many business coaches that really didn't understand what it meant to be a CEO. They wanted to help you with the tactical, they wanted to help you with the mindset, but they couldn't do both. That's exactly what I do is both. To say, I'm here to deliver whatever needs you have right now, because I get it. I have been there. And you need a business coach to get it. You need someone on your side.
Well, and I love what you said, that the business you versus the personal you versus all of these other hats that you wear, because I find myself flipping back and forth between that. Like, okay, this is a business event. I need to talk about business things, or, oh, I'm out to dinner with friends. I can't. It's crazy freeing to have someone that you can just drop all of those hats and just talk with.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Someone who gets it, who can talk to you about your Squarespace website, or who can talk to you about how your spouse is unhappy that you're never home because you're busy all the time with work.
Yes.
You know, whatever it may be, and who really can get it and help you strategize on how to work through it.
And hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's such a huge, and for me personally, I have found that when I find friends in my industry, it's very hard for me to talk about my goals with them because I've been shamed for it in the past. Of, well, why do you want to make so much? That's just greedy kind of thing. So to have a coach that you can say, this is my revenue goal for the year, and have them say, why is it not higher?
Right. Right.
Instead of shaming you for it, that's huge.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to, this gets to be a safe space for you. And they are your cheerleader. So they just want you to succeed in every aspect of your life. And how many of us have that? Like, even if we have a few best friends, no matter what, they're not going to be able to converse with you on every level and be unbiased. And they can't help you with the tactical and the strategic of the business piece. And then if you converse with like a consultant, it's very consultant based, and that's it. And they don't do as much leadership development and kind of more soft skills and mindset work and really digging into things on that level. And so you really need a business coach or a leadership coach to help you work through all of those pieces.
That's so important. How does someone know if they're ready for a business coach? When is it the right time? Is there a right time?
Yeah. Obviously I am a business coach, so I would say every time is the right time. As long as you are interested in, furthering your career, starting a business, whatever it may be. However, to work with me specifically, my clients typically are people who are very driven, very ambitious entrepreneurs, often women who they've been in leadership roles in the past, perhaps, maybe they haven't, but they are ready to take the bull by the horns and go. And they just need a ton of support to get there if they're starting their own business, or they're in that same mentality and they're climbing up the ladder and they're about to reach that C-suite or that director position. And they just need some support with ensuring that they're taking the right steps and all the mindset stuff that comes with it, and ensuring that they understand what it means to be the CEO role and they're thinking about everything clearly. And so I really work with people who have that leadership mentality, whether it's an entrepreneur or a CEO. And if you've got that mentality, that means we are on our way to being a really great fit for each other, because I know I can help you. If that's not what you want, then there are plenty of other coaches out there for you.
Absolutely. I think I usually tell, when people ask me all the time, well, what do I look for in a mentor? And it's difficult to really say because it's so individual, but I usually tell people you need to know what skill you want to grow.
Yes. Yes.
So for instance, if someone really wants to move forward in leadership and leading their own business or their community or whatever they're looking to build, then that is something that you would be amazing with. But if someone wants to learn maybe public speaking, I don't know, think of all the different skills that people have different specialties in. And once you've really determined what you want to learn, because so many new business owners go into it and say, well, I just want to learn how to be successful in my business.
Right.
Well, that's really, really vague.
Right. Right.
We need to narrow that down a little.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And the beauty about me being a former CEO and now owning my own business and being an entrepreneur is that I can speak to, the basics of public speaking and my experience of public speaking and helping you out in that way. But that is not my expertise. And so that's where, I would And I love to do this with my clients because I think it's a really important piece of leadership is knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses and being able to say, this isn't something I can really make you flourish in the way I think you need. So I'm going to refer you to this person for that specific, for instance, public speaking, if that's the example we're using. And we can work, you and I can work on the leadership piece while you're developing that public speaking skill specifically.
Yes, definitely. It's so important to narrow it down to what skill you want to learn. There are so many people that have amazing expertise and so many options, but to say, well, I just want to be in business is not really going to help when you're looking for help elsewhere.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So there are so many coaches constantly selling their service everywhere.
Yeah.
Facebook and blogs and like everywhere. How does someone choose the right coach for them? I mean, obviously we just talked about knowing what skill you want to grow, but how do you walk someone through choosing the right coach for them?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple, very distinct hard skill or hard activities that we or I do or that people can do and seek out when they're looking for a coach that's a good fit. But ultimately, I would say that you really need to, the first step is you need to look at their website and kind of see how much they resonate with you. And if for whatever reason your intuition is saying, something about this person just resonates with me, I can't identify it, I don't know what it is. Most coaches do some sort of free consult call. They'll do a 30-minute call or a 20-minute call or an hour call because everyone recognizes the importance of seeing if you're a good fit, both as a coach and as a potential coachee client. And so, that doesn't hurt anyone, that doesn't take any money out of your bank account. And it's a great way for you to determine, does this person really resonate with me? Do they really know what I want them to know? Do they really have the knowledge that I need them to have to work with me? Is their approach gonna be something that resonates with me or not? And you should be able to feel that a little bit in that first call. And if it does resonate with you, that should be a really good indicator. Okay, I want to proceed. I want to ask more questions, see if they have a good package for me, whether it's a coaching package or a course or something like that, that would fit, all of my various needs, financial needs, time needs, and how individualized I need it to be.
Mm-hmm. I think that personality is a huge part of that as well. And I love what you said about the intuition. If your intuition says, hey, I just feel drawn to this person, usually there's a reason.
Yeah.
I find that that's so true. One of my coaches calls her coaching dominatrixing. And she does have a very blunt, very kind of in your face approach, but that's what I work best with. So I know that about myself and that's okay. But others find that she comes off too harsh. So knowing what you need and the personality that will be best for you and following that intuition is huge.
It really is. And quite frankly, it's a very large component of effective and good quality leadership, to tie that all right back in.
Absolutely. So I know that you tend to work specifically with younger entrepreneurs. And I really love this because I personally am that weird age where I'm not millennial, I'm not Generation X. I just am kind of those 2 years in between. What do you see that millennials have to offer when it comes to their businesses that's different from previous generations?
Well, just like any generation, the younger you are, the more zeal you have, the more passion you have. And that's where we're at in the millennial generation. The very broad way of categorizing the millennial generation right now is we're the 20 to 40 somethings, right? That's a very, very broad generalization of millennials. A more narrow definition would be 22 to about 36. And I'm 34. I was 29 when I became CEO, and I know what it feels like to be a millennial CEO and to feel like there's a lot of stereotype happening and you question yourself and you question, what you're bringing to the table. Yet I also know that as a millennial CEO and people that I have managed over the years, my clients, my people I've coached with, that the people who are interested in climbing the ladder, people who are ambitious and driven and interested in creating a business of their own, they are in this beautiful sweet spot where they have this passion, they have this zeal, and they have some of the life knowledge and some of those degrees and certificates that we talked about, where they're in this beautiful, lush little meadow that they are just ready to like bloom and burst. And they just need a little support. They need a little cheerleader. They need a little guidance. They need a little technical assistance, whether it's soft skills, like how to have hard conversations and how to actually have them, right? Like you can find on many online
not dance around them.
Right. Yeah. And you can find on lots of like online articles, like how to have hard conversations. But what I've found with all of those is they don't get at what the conversations actually end up being like. Yes. So they miss a huge portion of the advice and help that you really need and the support you really need. And so that's where millennials, I just see need this extra love and encouragement, because we are in this perfect time where we have this passion and this zeal, and we are ready to go out there and to create our own thing, to be that CEO. And we just need some support. We need some support that looks like us and that knows our struggles, because when you get the 50-something coach or consultant, it's great that they are more experienced in walking this planet and in their career in whatever way that looks. However, they also don't understand the competing needs of someone our age. They don't understand whether it's social media and all of the things that are coming at you that way, whether it's, the different ways that we as millennials look at what it means to be married, look at relationship, look at, we used Tinder and, like eHarmony to date.
Yes.
And 50-somethings, no, they didn't use that to date. Maybe like after their third divorce. But they didn't, that's not something that they grew up with. So they don't understand how to function within that space. Not to mention the generational stereotypes that you get as a millennial and how to combat those.
That's hard. I've never really thought about how that would affect someone, because it just seems like people don't care and they just let it fall off their back. But I would imagine that's probably not true for everyone.
No. And I mean, if you just think about it, think about the friends that you like, the people you like to hang out with. Generally, they are like you. That is typically who we are attracted to. And because they get it, they get us, they get our experience of the world. And that's exactly it with me coaching millennials. That's something I can speak to. I know what it means to be a millennial coach. I know what it means to be a millennial. I know what it means to be a millennial CEO. I can't speak to what it means to be a baby boomer CEO. And that is something I bring that's unique. And it is something I bring because I'm passionate about, this is where my political side will come out again. I'm passionate about women breaking the glass ceiling, and not just breaking it, but then staying there. Yeah. And we don't think about not just shattering it, but then we got to have staying power. We've got to actually enjoy what we're doing. And we have to find a way to make it work within all of the competing needs of our lives. And that's something, again, the baby boomer generation or generations above us don't fully grasp in the same way that we grasp, or, they're not used to the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. You wear your hoodie to the office and you're a CEO. Yes. And that's something we have grown up with, saying, nope, this is what we're doing. We are changing all of this. We need to make work not something that is stiff and an 8 to 5 where we get a pension and we move on.
Oh my gosh, pensions.
Right.
We'll never ever see those. Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How cool. I love it. I think that there's so much perspective to be had. And it's so funny for me as kind of the in-between to see where I relate with millennials and where I don't. Because I think that there's a little bit of both, which is fun to see, especially when it comes to my students and working with a lot of newer photographers that need help, newer creative entrepreneurs that are a lot of times younger. Yeah. And they need help in a different way.
Yep. Exactly. And, it's not to diminish or demean any other generation. It's just to say that, we as millennials just are in a unique time in our lives right now. So let's capitalize on that and let's learn how to make the most of it.
Absolutely. Definitely. Well, what is the number one mindset shift that if you could just tell every female entrepreneur, do this one thing and you will be successful, what would that be?
Let go of expectations.
Others' expectations or your own?
Both.
Love it.
Yes, that's so important because that gets back at letting go of imposter syndrome, just, being able to make shit up every day and being totally okay with it. Because that's what everyone else does. Like, you're never going to learn until you fail, and you're going to fail 9 times out of 10 with one success. And that is what it means to be a leader.
I love that. I remember I read something recently, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but the gap between happy and unhappy is expectations.
Yes, exactly.
And it's so true. Exactly. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh. Well, Hayley, where can people find you? I know you have coaching and podcasting, and you're just kind of all over the place. You're amazing, so ambitious. Where can people find you to learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to HayleyCollinsCoaching.com. And it's Hayley, Hayley Collins, HayleyCollinsCoaching.com. So you can get all sorts of goodies there. And then you can check out my podcast called The Millennial Leadership Show with Hayley Collins. And we are on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and all the standard places. So check us out. We'd love to hear what you've got to say, any tips you have, any things you'd like, any questions you have, and questions you'd like for us to answer on air, because I love podcasting and I find it a really effective way to get at the burning questions of leaders.
Isn't it so fun?
It is. It really is a super, super fun time. I love it.
I'm just really, really enjoying it. Well, thank you so much for being here today, for answering my weird questions and going off on a weird tangent. I'm so glad that we were able to talk. I can't wait for people to hear this. I think that mindset and coaching, gosh, I feel like people just get pulled into coaching in a way that is not healthy for them, and they have expectations that are not met, and it's just a disaster. So I love what you have to say about coaching and when is the right time. And all of this is just amazing content. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
And for anyone that wants to follow up with Hayley, she's at Hayley Collins Coaching. This will all be in the show notes, of course. So check out the show notes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And they're all listed with the episodes. I can't wait to hear more from you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy this beautiful weather. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.